You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your educational journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. Business alignment is the living thread that connects strategy with delivery. It is not enough for teams to be productive or to ship features quickly. What matters is whether those increments serve the organization's most pressing priorities. Business alignment ensures that every increment advances outcomes, addresses risk posture, or fulfills obligations in a way that can be demonstrated with evidence. This orientation is critical because without it, delivery drifts into activity for activity's sake, features pile up, but strategy stands still. By contrast, when alignment is healthy, increments become stepping stones that steadily advance objectives. Teams do not just deliver code, they deliver measurable movement toward goals. Alignment is dynamic, requiring constant recalibration as strategies evolve, risks shift, and markets change. At its heart, business alignment is about keeping delivery honest, accountable, and strategically relevant, rather than disconnected from the larger mission. Priorities in agile delivery come from many sources, and understanding their nature is essential for alignment. Objectives and key results, or OKRs, provide structured strategic goals expressed in measurable terms. Regulatory and safety requirements create obligations that carry urgency, not because of choice, but because of compliance and protection. Customer commitments, whether contractual agreements or promises made through sales, introduce another category of must-deliver priorities. Finally, market signals such as competitor moves or shifts in demand bring opportunities and threats that cannot be ignored. Each of these sources has distinct evidence needs and urgency profiles. For instance, a regulatory deadline is non-negotiable and requires evidence for auditors, while a market-driven priority may call for rapid experimentation and learning. Alignment means recognizing these differences and sequencing increments accordingly. When teams treat all priorities as equal, they risk misallocating effort. By categorizing and respecting these sources, alignment decisions become sharper and more defensible. Outcome mapping is the practice of tying features not to outputs, but to measurable benefits and risk reductions. It shifts the team's lens from "what are we building" to "why are we building it and how will we know it worked?" Each increment is expressed as a hypothesis. If we deliver this feature, we expect this outcome. For example, rather than measuring success by releasing a new onboarding flow, the outcome might be a 10% increase in successful signups or a reduction in drop-off rates. Outcome mapping also includes risk-based outcomes, such as lowering security vulnerabilities or reducing downtime frequency. By articulating outcomes in this way, teams replace output counts with evidence-based impact. This approach discourages the feature factory mindset, where success is measured in volume of delivery. Instead, it fosters alignment by tying effort directly to strategic objectives, making increments testable and accountable for real-world results. Stakeholder co-ownership reinforces that alignment is not just a delivery team concern, but a shared responsibility. Sponsors, business users, and risk partners must be part of the early trade-offs to ensure that alignment decisions reflect the full system of constraints. For example, a sponsor might prioritize revenue growth, while a risk partner might emphasize data privacy obligations. If these perspectives are not integrated early, delivery may satisfy one dimension while creating problems in another. Co-ownership means stakeholders do not simply approve work after the fact, but participate in shaping increments. This joint accountability ensures that the team's choices are credible and sustainable. It also creates shared trust, since no one is surprised by trade-offs later. When stakeholders and teams co-own priorities, alignment becomes multidimensional, balancing opportunity, compliance, risk, and feasibility. This shared approach is critical to avoiding narrow optimization that advances one agenda at the expense of the whole. Theme to slice translation is the mechanism by which big, abstract roadmap intents become thin, testable increments. Strategic themes such as improve customer engagement, or reduce operational risk are valuable for direction but too broad to act upon directly. Translation means breaking them down into slices that can prove value quickly. For example, instead of trying to overhaul the entire customer portal at once, a team might deliver a slice that improves password reset flows, immediately reducing support calls and demonstrating engagement improvements. This translation avoids speculative big batches that defer evidence until late. Each slice carries a visible link back to the theme, showing how it advances the strategy. Over time, many slices accumulate into significant movement. By practicing theme-to-slice translation, organizations make strategy executable and ensure that each increment validates assumptions rather than betting blindly on untested roadmaps. Acceptance linked to outcomes is an evolution beyond definition of done. In traditional views, work is accepted when tasks are complete or features are technically functional. In outcome-linked alignment, acceptance requires success signals tied to impact. For example, a slice that aims to improve search usability is not done when the new search bar is coded, but when adoption rates rise and task completion improves. Error rates, adoption patterns, and user success become the measures of completion. This redefinition of acceptance closes the loop between intent and result, ensuring that delivery is not activity-based but evidence-based. It also shifts testing from purely functional to impact validation. Teams practicing outcome-linked acceptance deliver with greater accountability, as each increment is judged not just on what was built, but on whether it made the intended difference. This mindset deepens alignment, grounding delivery in tangible, verifiable outcomes. Non-functional priorities play a crucial role in business alignment because they represent trust attributes, security, reliability, accessibility that underpin long-term success. Often invisible to end users until they fail, these priorities can become catastrophic if neglected. For example, a system that ships many new features but crashes under load has failed alignment because it undermines user trust and strategic credibility. By elevating non-functional priorities as first-class work items, organizations ensure that trust attributes receive equal attention alongside features. Sometimes external standards or exposures demand this elevation, such as accessibility compliance or security certifications. Incorporating non-functional slices early demonstrates responsibility and foresight. It also prevents painful surprises where late discovery of a security flaw or reliability gap derails releases. Business alignment, therefore, requires teams to integrate these invisible yet essential qualities into increments, treating them as direct expressions of organizational priorities and obligations. Cost of delay framing gives teams a quantitative way to assess urgency in sequence work. It considers how much value is lost for every unit of time an increment is delayed. Some increments, such as compliance deadlines or seasonal promotions, decay quickly in value if late. Others, like foundational infrastructure improvements, may hold steady but accrue opportunity cost over time. By expressing urgency in terms of cost of delay, teams make trade-offs visible and defensible. For example, a holiday shopping feature may have immense short-term value but little relevance afterward, while a monitoring tool may provide steady, compounding benefit. Framing work in these terms helps teams prioritize time-sensitive increments ahead of slower-decaying opportunities. It also allows stakeholders to debate priorities on economic grounds rather than subjective preference. Cost of delay provides a rational lens through which alignment decisions can be made, ensuring that urgent opportunities are not missed while slower-burning benefits still find their place. Funding and capacity alignment ensures that the way resources are allocated matches the evidence emerging from increments. Instead of rigid project budgets that lock scope up front, outcome-based or capacity-based funding models give teams flexibility to adapt. Outcome-based funding ties investment to measurable goals, continuing support when outcomes are delivered, and stopping when value is absent. Capacity-based funding, meanwhile, ensures stable teams with predictable capacity, allowing scope to flex within that constraint. Both models favor adaptability, protecting alignment by making sure that resources flow where evidence of impact is strongest. For example, If one team demonstrates that its increments are reducing churn significantly, leadership can sustain funding without requiring new business cases. This adaptability prevents misalignment caused by outdated budgets. Funding and capacity alignment turn financial governance into a partner of agility, ensuring that increments are resourced responsibly in line with evolving priorities. Cross-portfolio coordination highlights that alignment is not only about optimizing a single team or product lane. In modern organizations, many outcomes depend on shared platforms, services, or capabilities. For example, a new analytics service may benefit multiple business lines, while an improved authentication system strengthens both customer and employee experiences. Without coordination, teams may chase local optimizations that compete for resources and delay broader benefits. Business alignment therefore includes intentional investment in shared capabilities that unlock multiple outcomes. This requires portfolio-level visibility, where dependencies and synergies are mapped explicitly. It also requires governance that values collective progress over siloed wins. Cross-portfolio coordination ensures that increments serve the larger ecosystem, not just the immediate team. By framing alignment in portfolio terms, organizations maximize return on investment and avoid fragmentation, where narrow priorities undermine the bigger picture. Dependency awareness ensures that alignment is grounded in what is realistically feasible. Many increments depend on external interfaces, legal reviews, or marketing timelines. For example, a product feature might be ready technically but cannot launch until a legal review approves terms of service. Similarly, marketing campaigns may shape the window in which value can land successfully. Business alignment that ignores these constraints risks creating done but stuck work. By accounting for dependencies early, teams order increments in ways that are achievable and coherent. This awareness extends to external systems, partners, and even cultural factors that affect timing. While dependencies can slow momentum, acknowledging them protects credibility and avoids false promises. Dependency awareness is therefore a form of practical alignment, recognizing that increments live within a web of conditions that must be managed deliberately for delivery to match priorities. Evidence loops are the feedback mechanism that closes the gap between plan and reality. Every increment should include key performance indicators, or telemetry, tied directly to its intent. For example, if an increment is designed to reduce call center volume, its evidence loop would track ticket trends after release. If adoption is the goal, usage metrics become the evidence. These loops ensure that the impact is visible, allowing teams and stakeholders to confirm or challenge assumptions. Evidence loops also protect alignment from drifting, as they continually test whether increments serve their intended purpose. Without them, delivery becomes a blind march, with success or failure discovered too late. By embedding evidence in every increment, organizations make alignment measurable, creating a cycle where strategy informs delivery and delivery informs strategy. Evidence loops transform alignment from aspiration into practice, where results continually inform the next decision. Trade-off transparency is vital for sustaining trust during alignment decisions. Priorities inevitably shift, and choices often involve rejecting some opportunities in favor of others. Without transparency, these shifts appear arbitrary, eroding stakeholder confidence. Trade-off transparency means explaining not only what was chosen but also what was not, along with the rationale and expected consequences. For example, if a performance improvement is delayed to prioritize a regulatory deadline, leadership should explain why and acknowledge the impact. This openness allows stakeholders to understand the decision rather than speculate about hidden agendas. It also builds resilience, as people are more likely to support difficult choices when they see the reasoning. Transparent trade-offs make alignment sustainable by keeping trust intact. They reinforce that alignment is not about perfection, but about making informed decisions in the face of competing demands. Change triggers define the signals that justify reordering priorities. In dynamic environments, alignment cannot mean locking plans rigidly. Instead, organizations specify what kinds of changes warrant rethinking risk spikes, significant user feedback, competitor moves, or market disruptions. By predefining triggers, teams avoid knee-jerk reactions to minor noise, while still remaining responsive to real shifts. For instance, a sudden competitor launch that undercuts a product may trigger reprioritization, while routine customer complaints may not. These triggers create discipline around responsiveness, ensuring that focus is protected until credible signals emerge. They also help communicate to stakeholders why priorities are shifting, framing change as deliberate rather than chaotic. Change triggers make alignment both stable and flexible, balancing the need for focus with the reality of evolving conditions. They are the guardrails that keep responsiveness from collapsing into disorder. Anti-patterns in business alignment highlight what to avoid. Pet projects initiatives championed by powerful individuals without evidence of value erode credibility and waste capacity. Feature factories that measure success by volume of delivery rather than impact disconnect teams from outcomes, leading to busy work without progress. Date promises without scope flexibility create false expectations that undermine trust and push teams toward unhealthy shortcuts. These anti-patterns reveal what happens when alignment is abandoned or corrupted. Activity becomes detached from strategy, evidence is ignored, and trust erodes. By naming these pitfalls, organizations remind themselves why discipline matters. Avoiding anti-patterns is not just about efficiency, it is about integrity. When teams fall into these traps, delivery may continue, but alignment disappears, leaving the organization running fast in the wrong direction. Awareness of these anti-patterns strengthens resolve to keep alignment alive and principled. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Lightweight intake governance provides a practical balance between openness and discipline when evaluating new requests. Instead of erecting heavy gates with exhaustive documentation, lightweight intake relies on quick triage based on impact, urgency, and alignment fit. A request that clearly supports strategic objectives or addresses regulatory obligations is routed swiftly toward refinement, while items with weaker ties may be parked or discarded. This process ensures that new work enters the pipeline responsibly without overwhelming teams with bureaucracy. For example, a customer-facing enhancement may pass intake because of high market demand, while a minor cosmetic tweak might be deferred. The benefit of lightweight governance is that it protects focus without stifling responsiveness. It acknowledges that innovation often begins with small, informal ideas, and the role of intake is to filter rather than to obstruct. This discipline ensures that every increment considered for delivery has a credible alignment case. Backlog traceability reinforces alignment by making the connection between items and objectives explicit. Each backlog slice should link to an objective identifier, whether an OKR, regulatory requirement, or strategic theme, so its why is visible and auditable. This transparency prevents items from drifting into the backlog without purpose. For example, if a team is asked to implement a new reporting dashboard, the trace should show whether it supports compliance, enhances customer satisfaction, or contributes to a revenue goal. Without this traceability, teams risk working on features that sound appealing but lack justification. Traceability also simplifies portfolio reporting, as leaders can see how current work maps to strategy at a glance. It turns the backlog into a living representation of alignment, where every slice has a visible thread back to intent. This visibility strengthens trust with stakeholders and ensures that resource allocation is defensible under scrutiny. Increment goals sharpen alignment by articulating a single, outcome-centered target for each time box. Instead of attempting to achieve multiple competing objectives, the team frames a clear statement such as, reduce checkout abandonment by 15% this iteration, or enable audit logging for sensitive transactions. This focus clarifies acceptance criteria, guides daily decisions, and shapes demo content. Increment goals also improve stakeholder engagement, as progress can be judged against a tangible benchmark rather than vague activity. They create a narrative arc for each cycle, connecting individual stories to a bigger outcome. By focusing on one central goal, teams avoid dilution of effort and maximize learning. Increment goals are not rigid promises but directional compasses, ensuring that delivery energy accumulates toward measurable impact. This practice keeps teams aligned with strategy in the short term while preserving adaptability for future priorities. Stakeholder-ready demos elevate alignment by presenting evidence against goals rather than showcasing slideware or superficial progress. A demo becomes a decision point, where stakeholders see actual functionality, usage data, or risk evidence that ties directly to objectives. For example, instead of walking through static mock-ups, a team might demonstrate that a new claims system successfully processes real sample cases and reduces manual errors. This evidence allows sponsors and partners to decide whether to continue, pivot, or stop an initiative. Demos that center on outcomes reinforce accountability and prevent the theater of progress that can mislead. They also strengthen trust, as stakeholders witness alignment in action rather than being asked to take it on faith. When demos become moments of truth, alignment shifts from abstract aspiration to visible practice, giving all parties a chance to validate priorities continuously. Mid-cycle adjustment rules establish the conditions under which priorities may be reordered during an iteration or increment. Agile emphasizes responsiveness, but too much churn erodes flow and morale. By defining rules, such as only reordering for material signals like regulatory shifts, major customer escalations, or competitor moves, teams protect themselves from thrash while still honoring alignment. For example, a mid-cycle adjustment might be justified if a vulnerability is discovered that demands immediate attention, but not if a stakeholder casually changes their mind about a cosmetic feature. These rules strike a balance. They create discipline while preserving agility. Mid-cycle adjustment rules also enhance trust, since stakeholders know the team will respond when necessary, but will not abandon commitments lightly. The presence of clear rules makes change management intentional rather than chaotic, protecting alignment and delivery stability simultaneously. Customer-facing coordination reminds us that shipping a feature is only half the battle. The other half is ensuring value actually lands. Successful increments are synchronized with support, training, and communications so users can adopt them effectively. For example, a new self-service portal must be accompanied by updated help guides, staff training, and external communication to customers. Without these, even a technically flawless increment may fail to achieve its intended outcome. Alignment means planning not just for delivery, but for adoption. Customer-facing coordination requires collaboration with marketing, support, and enablement functions, turning increments into holistic value events. This coordination demonstrates respect for the end-to-end journey, ensuring that increments serve their purpose fully. It elevates delivery from technical success to business success, reinforcing alignment by ensuring the impact is real and sustained in practice. Launch readiness gates protect trust by ensuring increments meet critical standards before exposure. These gates check operability, risk controls, compliance obligations, and messaging readiness. For example, a financial feature might pass technical tests, but still pause at a readiness gate if audit logging is incomplete. While gates may delay release, they prevent failures that could damage reputation, safety, or compliance. The principle is that readiness cannot be sacrificed for speed when stakes are high. Launch gates are not intended to stifle agility but to align delivery with organizational risk tolerance. By treating readiness as a quality safeguard, teams demonstrate that alignment includes protecting trust and obligations, not just shipping features. These gates make explicit the standards that must be met, creating predictability and accountability for stakeholders. Benefit realization extends alignment beyond release by tracking whether outcomes materialize over time. Some increments show immediate impact, such as reduced error rates, while others require observation across longer windows. For example, a customer retention feature may only reveal its benefit after several months of usage data. Benefit realization distinguishes novelty bumps, temporary engagement spikes, from durable gains that reflect true alignment with strategy. Tracking outcome deltas over appropriate horizons allows organizations to update priorities responsibly. If benefits fall short, plans are adjusted or initiatives retired. If they succeed, evidence supports scaling or additional investment. Benefit realization closes the loop between vision and reality, ensuring that alignment is not assumed but proven. It turns increments into experiments whose results shape the next round of decisions, embedding continuous learning into the alignment process. Regulatory calendar integration acknowledges that external obligations shape alignment windows. Audits, attestations, and compliance reviews occur on fixed cycles, and increments must be planned accordingly. For example, if a data privacy certification audit occurs every September, security and logging increments must align with that timeline. By synchronizing cadence with regulatory calendars, organizations avoid last-minute scrambles that risk non-compliance. Integration also allows smoother coordination with regulators and auditors, demonstrating proactive governance. Business alignment that ignores regulatory cadence risks eroding trust with authorities and stakeholders alike. By weaving these external rhythms into planning, teams ensure increments both meet internal objectives and honor external obligations. This practice reinforces that alignment is multidimensional, encompassing not just strategy and markets but also the regulatory landscape. Conflict resolution forums provide a structured way to settle competing priorities. Inevitably, different stakeholders champion different goals, and alignment requires reconciling them transparently. Forums define explicit criteria, decision rights, and documented rationale. For example, a forum might weigh cost of delay, regulatory obligations, and strategic fit when deciding whether to prioritize a compliance increment over a marketing feature. By making these criteria visible, decisions are depersonalized and defensible. Documenting the rationale also builds institutional memory, reducing the chance of revisiting settled debates. Conflict resolution forums transform contention into constructive dialogue, ensuring that alignment emerges from principled decisions rather than power struggles. They reinforce trust by demonstrating that alignment choices are made systematically, balancing multiple perspectives fairly. Sunset and de-scope practices are critical to maintaining alignment because priorities evolve. Work that once made sense may no longer justify capacity, and holding on to it creates waste. Sunset practices retire features or products that no longer deliver value, while de-scoping removes items from backlogs that have lost relevance. For example, a reporting tool built for a discontinued service should be retired, freeing resources for current needs. These practices reduce complexity, carrying costs, and distraction. They also signal that alignment means both choosing what to do and choosing what not to do. By routinely sunsetting and de-scoping, organizations maintain focus on current priorities and prevent backlog bloat. This discipline ensures that delivery remains aligned with strategy as it stands, not as it once was. Executive and board updates translate increments into strategic language for top-level decision-makers. Leaders do not need technical detail but require clear evidence of how increments advance objectives. Updates may include concise change logs, outcome evidence, and next bets framed in business terms. For example, an update might highlight that a recent increment reduced churn by 5%, aligning with growth objectives, and propose the next step of expanding the feature. This translation reinforces alignment at the highest levels, keeping executives engaged without overwhelming them. It also builds trust that delivery is strategically disciplined. Board-level communication closes the loop, ensuring that alignment is visible from the ground up and from the top down. Alignment metrics provide quantitative checks on whether increments are serving priorities effectively. Measures such as time to value on top objectives, hit rate on strategic targets, and stoppages due to misalignment or dependencies reveal the health of alignment. For example, if many increments stall because of missing external approvals, alignment metrics highlight the bottleneck. If top objectives consistently receive value within expected timeframes, alignment is strong. These metrics provide evidence that alignment is more than aspiration, it is measurable. By monitoring alignment continuously, organizations can correct course early and sustain credibility with stakeholders. Metrics make alignment auditable, reinforcing its role as a practical discipline rather than a vague concept. Renewal cadence ensures that alignment stays current as strategies evolve. Quarterly reviews and trigger-based updates keep roadmaps and backlogs synchronized with changing objectives. For example, a quarterly renewal might adjust priorities after market research reveals new customer behaviors, while a trigger event like a regulatory change may prompt immediate reordering. Renewal cadence balances stability with responsiveness, preventing drift without inviting chaos. It acknowledges that alignment is not set once, but must be refreshed as context shifts. This regular recalibration keeps delivery synchronized with strategy, ensuring that increments always reflect the most current understanding of priorities. Renewal cadence embeds alignment as a living practice, maintaining relevance in a dynamic environment. In conclusion, business alignment ensures that delivery is not just active, but purposeful. Part 2 has shown how intake governance, backlog traceability, increment goals, and stakeholder-ready demos embed alignment into daily practice. Mid-cycle adjustment rules, customer-facing coordination, and launch readiness protect flow, adoption, and trust. Benefit realization, regulatory calendars, and conflict resolution forums extend alignment beyond release, while sunset practices and executive updates sustain focus at scale. Alignment metrics and renewal cadence complete the loop, ensuring alignment remains measurable and current. Together, these practices demonstrate that alignment is not a one-time achievement, but an ongoing discipline. By embedding evidence, transparency, and recalibration into increments, organizations ensure that every step of delivery advances real priorities, making strategy executable and trustworthy. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.